weird. All right. What happened to the stream cam? Why isn't it showing up? It was here like 2 seconds ago. I was there, and then I went and decided to go live, and then when I came back, it was totally gone. That is so weird. Well, that's really annoying, too. Okay. Well, all right, I'm going to remove it, and let's just add it again. Huh. I had everything ready. Like, oh my God, this has been just one of them days where all the technology wasn't working, and my, aha, there we go.
There we go. It's right there.
Ta-da. Not so tough. Look at me, problem solving like a boss. Here we go. Hi, everybody. Sorry about that. That was super weird. I had everything set up and then I just vanished. Hello. Welcome to the Stop Shitting All Over Yourself podcast. I am Minessa Ink, your host, and this is the live stream that is currently still done publicly and not in my fan subscriptions, which is going to be opening up hopefully for me sometime in the next 6 months or so. So looking forward to that. My allergies are insane right now. Like I cannot even function as a human being. My plan was to actually use my nice camera that I actually worked. I got rid of all of the issues. Everything was done. The battery dies in like 2 seconds when you're streaming, so I realized that I need to get like a special, there's something called a dummy battery that you actually use in these cameras to like, so you can have them powered all the time. So I was like, okay, I'll get that. But I just need to send this out to the community chat, the text message. So just FYI, I sent out text messages to everyone who's on my list. If you opt in. If they want to get reminders, you can do that by the link, the description of this live tells you exactly how to get on that texting chain. However, for right now, I don't. Okay, listen, dude. Right now, I don't want to give you feedback. It's asking me to give them feedback, and I'm like, I don't have time right now. I am doing a podcast. Shitting all over yourself. Episode is live. Okay. All right. So I have a slight. Oh, too many Minessas? Too many Minessas, huh? Where's the other Minessa? There we go. Just one Minessa now. Just one Minessa. I know, here's the thing. I thought that it was super important that you hear my voice twice because, look, I have such important things to say that simply hearing them once isn't enough. You have to hear them twice. But see, I don't have the time to say them twice, so I thought I would use 2 microphones. Clearly, that didn't work. All right. So thank you, Christy, for letting me know that. And you're here, dude. Are you? Don't send out the text. I was about to say, are you sending out the text? No, you're not. You're not sending out the text. Don't do it. All right. But don't worry, I can manage it. And then I actually have to grab my Tiger Bomb because everything hit me all at once when I sat down. So like, I was like, I'm sitting down to go live and then it literally took me 10 minutes to combobulate. So I apologize for my delay, but we are really working, what's the word I'm looking for? Moving forward. I don't have the time to say them twice. So I thought I would use 2 microphones and growing as we go. Okay. There we go. Link is set. Done. All right. Text message is sent. I have 1 Kleenex, which is fine. I need to get my Tiger Bomb. And then we're going to talk about something so important today. So important. I can't even begin to tell you how important it is. Hold on. I'd probably be able to do it better if I wasn't so allergic. Oh, you're so sweet. Alex brought me a pile of Kleenex. He didn't realize I had a box. He's such a sweetheart. He could hear me suffering in here. He's like, oh my God, my poor wife, she's going to die on a live. That would be terrible. And then I guess, send the text. Yep, send the text. Absolutely. Sometimes we do need it on repeat. All right, let me make this a little bit tinier now that we solved this problem. All right, do that. Okay, sweet. All right, here we are. Yay. So, next week, we're actually going to be in a much better technological situation, which is great because I actually think I've hit the last of the walls that I'm running into. So close to being the last of the walls. But at that point, we're pretty much good to where, like, I think next week's Stop Shitting All Over Yourself is going to look pretty much the way I want it to. We're going to have all the technology the way I want it to. So at that point, I am really, really excited to see what happens then. Okay, so what are we talking about today? Today we're going to be talking about it's okay to change. I actually had not even realized what a big problem this was for me until I really started to work this last couple months on sort of the launch, but really on building and growing my business, on working with my therapist, my intimacy coach, my money mindset coach, my human design coach. I've been working with a lot of coaches because I have had this feeling for the last like year or so. Like I know that some of my community has been feeling this too. Hi, Sophia. Good to see you. Where you've been feeling kind of like tired and lost, and like maybe your business isn't giving you the passion that it once did. It's just not been what you had hoped, really, right? And I've been in that place too, where it's like, it's just not going the way that I had hoped it would go. And it's like, you got all the pieces and you're like, I don't understand. I've got everything in here that I need to have a successful business or be happy or get the warm fuzzies, but I'm not sure why I'm not. So, and there are many reasons why that could be, of course, but for me specifically in the last few months, it was actually something very, very, oh my God, this torture stick is amazing. So this is called a Theracane. So if anybody wants this thing is amazing. I use it so I have migraines that take up the entire right quadrant of my body. So the top right, like my friend Katie and I were actually talking about where our pain points are. And I was like, oh my God, they're like in the same spaces. Like mine is up here in my head. I have one here down by my shoulder, and then one in my lower back, like right, like sort of like in my trunk, like in the middle, and then one in my hip. And it's bad enough when they're individual pains, but then if like I get the headache and then I get the shoulder ache and they kind of like then merge together. So now this is like one big pain bubble of grossness. And then like, it'll just move its way down my back. Like, ooh, hello, but this thing. So Tiger Balm, it has a huge psychosomatic effect on me because of the smell, right? The menthol smells like really great. And it also, it helps enormously. And then I have this thing, which is like, oh my God, this is one of those things where I'm like, is it okay that people watch me while I do this? Like, I feel like I might need some alone time. You know what I'm saying? Like, is this something that people usually do in public? Oh my God, like that feeling right there, right? Oh, sometimes you get that spot and you're like, oh yeah, I can feel it, right? Oh, it's so good. The Theracane, you can get it on Amazon. It is so good. Jenna Green suggested it to me and it's life-changing. Yeah, so that's that for that one. I got my text. Good morning, Sophia. Hello, LaFern. Good to see you. Feeling all the things. Okay, you have one thanks to me. Yeah, seriously, everyone. We all have them thanks to Jenna. Jenna was the one who started all this. So I realized how hard it is for me to change. And there were some things that as I started to think about it, like where do these ideas come from, right? Because like, as we know, I'm not necessarily just going to be like, you need to change because it's important, right? Because I mean, we all know that. We know it's important. That's why we're here. Like we're all trying to change and grow. So it's not really about like understanding the importance of change because, you know, I think we all know that. It's really more about, okay, so what is it about change that makes it so hard for us to do it? Especially when it's related to our business. Why are we so caught up in keeping things the same way or doing things like what we think are the right way, as we've talked about in other podcasts, podcast episodes. So we're going to today dig really deep into you can change whenever you want to or however you want to. It's totally up to you. But there is something that holds us back. And I want to talk deeply about what those things are, or what, for me at least, what those things are for me and my community, and some ideas that I think will help you as you're going through your own process of growth and change, whatever that looks like for you. So the feedback and the thoughts that I want to share with you are really about me as I went through my own experience with change and then worked with my community members, my coaches, their communities on those changes, and the things that I observed as it's not a lot. It's just some key areas where I think that if we spend a little bit of time, we will enjoy our lives a lot more, right? And it's actually not that much work. That's the part that's actually really cool. It's not that much work. So without further ado, I just want to make sure, can you guys hear me okay? Is the sound good? Video is good. One thing that I want to remind you, I know that everybody who's here now that I can see is pretty much an old hand at the Stop Shutting All Over Yourself live, but I want to just let you know if you are joining us new, this is a live podcast recording. So I'm going to record it because I'm going to clap right at the beginning, like so. And then that's going to be the beginning of the podcast. Then I'm going to leave the screen, so I'm not going to be able to see the comments or anything because I'm going to be in my notes where I'm actually doing the podcast recording. I want to encourage you to talk amongst yourselves while I do that, because there are things that you're gonna relate to, that are going to remind you of something that maybe a friend of yours said. If you are at any point in time reminded of something that a friend of yours said, or a coach that you're like, oh, she taught me this, and this is I would love for people to follow her, please share that information here, because ultimately this is a space for us to learn how to be happier as the misfits that we are. right? And the way to do that is obviously sharing all of our own tools and resources. So anything that you feel you're inspired by, feel free to share. I would also like to encourage you to invite anyone to watch the live version of the podcast who may benefit from the Q&A part of it. Like they can always listen to the podcast later when it's on iTunes and all of those places. But right now is really the only opportunity that your friends and family are going to have to actually talk about this with you or experience it with you live. So I want to encourage you to invite them too, because this is actually a lot more fun for people participating in the content when they watch it live versus when they listen to it later. Okay, I think that's it. Oh, right. At the very end, I'm going to come back. When I come back, we're going to sit, we're going to talk, and we're really just I'm going to look at what you said. We're going to have a conversation about it because again, this isn't super easy stuff. This is hard stuff we're going to talk about, but at the end of it, you're going to feel great because you're going to realize even though the stuff we're talking about is hard, the actual solution is not going to take up that much of your time. It's not going to be that much anxiety to do, and you're actually going to be excited about it because that's my really big thing. It's about making us excited, creating that excitement about change instead of it being like, oh my God, there's something else that I have to do. Alrighty, hi Amy, good to see you. Hello Lou, good to see you as well. Alrighty, so we're gonna. Oh wait, let me just get this tiger bomb on my head. We're gonna dive right in. I'm gonna do my little clap, and then we're gonna get this show. Oh my God, the tiger bomb. I'll be in my bunk. Okay. Alrighty. Are we ready? No, that's not it. We're not ready. That's not it. Okay. All right. Blow my nose really quick. Let me mute you for that. Allergies. Okay. So warning for you, Laura. We may need to pause briefly for you to you're going to have to do more edits in this one because I know that I'm going to sneeze. Okay. Hello, and welcome to the Stop Shitting All Over Yourself podcast. My name is Minessa Ink. I am the business strategist and coach to misfit moneymakers with 25 years of experience working with businesses in crisis to help get them back on track. Like many of my clients, I used to hustle, and constantly give myself shit about all the things that I wasn't getting done or needed to get done or my lack of productivity. And what I realized was it wasn't until I dropped all of the antiquated ideas and perceptions about business that I had brought with me in from my childhood that I truly had freedom from that pressure that I was putting on myself. And I realized that I was holding myself back in my business. Over the years, I've worked with many money makers like yourselves to massage out some of these same belief systems. And today we're going to talk about one of my now favorites is that you can change anytime you want to. You can change your mind anytime you want to. Anytime. You can change your mind right now. You can change your mind tomorrow. You could change your mind yesterday. You can change your mind at any time you want to. Though that sounds like it's something fairly simple and straightforward, you would be surprised at how many people feel like they do not have the freedom to change their mind about specific things in their lives. I always thought that once I said something, right, that it was out into the world, right, that made it fact. It was now set in stone. So if I said that I love sushi, then I have to love sushi. I love sushi. And that's how it has to remain for always. So if I decide that I don't like sushi later, I will never really figure that out. I will just keep eating sushi because I keep saying I like sushi. The exact same way when I was younger, I said, I don't like sushi. I adamantly hated it. I was like, I don't like sushi. I said that for years that I didn't like sushi. I never would even try sushi, even when I got older, because I just didn't feel like I already know myself. What's to change? Why would I want to try this? It wasn't until the last 5 or 6 years that I really opened up my mind to trying new and different things. And I realized that little things about me that I thought were true, holding really true, had changed. They weren't true anymore. I now didn't hate sushi. I loved sushi. It was an astounding realization for me that I may not know myself as well as I think. There may be things that I like that I don't know I liked. I'd never ziplined before and I was like, oh, I'll never do it. I'm so scared it'd be terrible. I loved it. It was fabulous. I'm going again, right? I went a few years ago. I'm going again in Connecticut next month, right? People change. Now, in my mind, in my business, if I said I was going to do something, it's even like more than just like the general idea that people are going to expect this to be true of me, right? So like if you find out then that I'm eating sushi and I said I hated sushi, she's like, oh my God, she lied to me, right? There is a belief that if it changes that you are lying or that you weren't sure of what you were doing before. When I used to say I was going to do something in my business, I'm going to go live every day in my coaching group from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. every single day, which I did for over a year, actually maybe even 2 years, right? I said I was going to do that. So people expected me to do that. And I had to show up to do that. That's what they teach you when you're growing up, right? They're like, listen, if you want to make sure that you do something, tell someone that you're doing it. Commit to doing it to other people. That way you'll show up. So if you're like, listen, I decided that I want to stop eating ice cream, you're going to tell your spouse or your partner, and your partner is going to help hold you accountable, right? I'll help hold you accountable because now you said you're going to do it. I'm there. Now I'm going to hold you accountable, right? Now that's actually a good piece of advice, to tell people that you're going to do something so that they can hold you accountable, right? If you want to break a bad habit, like when I wanted to quit drinking, that was a really great way of doing it. I told my husband, I don't want to drink anymore. And he said, okay. And now he's holding me accountable. I also hold myself accountable, but it makes sense that I would want that kind of accountability, of course, right? However, that same philosophy that helps me quit drinking hurts me when it comes to the things that I do in my business. Because many months after I had started to go live every single day for an hour in the mornings, plus office hours, plus I think a couple other things I was doing, I was live a lot. I was burning out. I was exhausted. I was creating too much content. Was struggling a great deal. At the time, we weren't really on Hustle Proof. At the time, we were really more about Facebook strategy. But I was burning out. But I felt like I could not change what I had said I was going to do, because if I changed it, that meant that what I was doing was a failure. It meant that what I was doing didn't work. It meant that I was wrong. And that was such an enormous emotional and physical weight for me to carry. I couldn't imagine changing anything. For many business owners, they find themselves in similar situations in their business. This can manifest in two ways, right? So like the way that I just talked about is one where you say you're going to do something in your business, you commit to doing it, you show up to do it, but then you feel trapped by it. Or you're not able to meet up with that commitment because life happens. There's some sort of a crisis or a challenge that you need to deal with with your family or your community, or you're sick, you're chronically ill, and you just can't show up for a little bit, right? Now you've made this commitment. Now you feel bad about the fact that you're not showing up. You feel like a failure, but you don't want to make a change and say, okay, I'm going to only do it once a week, or I'm only going to do it twice a week, because then now you're admitting to everybody. If you do that, then now you're admitting that you're a failure, right? So there's a lot of narratives that go on in our heads when you're really faced with a decision about making a change in your business to something you're doing operationally. It's not just about making the change. Like a lot of people just say, well, just make the change. Just go live once a week. Sure, logistically, that makes sense. Just go live once a week. There is a lot of stuff that happens in your head between the time where you're like, oh my God, I'm so tired all the time. I haven't gone live when I said I would. I'm letting my community down, so on and so forth, right? So now we're living in this space here. So that's one scenario. That's a pretty big scenario where you're talking about, and where it sort of impacts you on your day-to-day. Now, there's another also big scenario where you decide you're going to do something with your business. You're like, this is the business I want. I'm going to be a boutique owner. I'm going to be a Facebook ads expert. I'm going to be a leadership coach, right? Whatever it is, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be this. This is the business I'm starting. You declare it on social media. You tell your friends, you tell your family. Maybe you even take some coaching. Maybe you get a certification, right? Maybe you do it for a few years. At any time along that journey, you might decide that it's not right for you anymore. At any time along that journey, you may start to feel like you're not really sure, you're not really enjoying. Heck, you may have even been doing it for 4 years and you realize, you know what, my passion isn't here for it. I'm just not feeling it. We talked a lot about this in episode 10 and in episode 19 about like being okay with, what happens when you get to that space. But for the most part, like for right now, when you're thinking about you're not feeling content with your business, a lot of times we won't even give ourselves permission to acknowledge the fact that we may not want to be doing what we're doing in our business anymore. So you may have done it for a few years. So I did clothes for a few years, and then I was like, you know what? I don't really like selling clothes. And it took a lot for me to realize that not liking selling clothes is not the same thing as failing at selling clothes. However, you can fail at selling clothes because you don't like it. right? So when I realized I didn't like selling clothes, I started to just not pay a lot of attention to the things that I probably wanted to pay attention to if I was going to actually serve my clients. For example, doing research on styles and styling and trends and colors. I just wasn't interested in those things. If I wasn't really interested in those things and I wasn't interested in fabrics and materials and fit, I just wasn't interested in those anymore. Then how am I actually serving my clients? But I felt like I had made this decision that this is what I was going to do. So if I change my mind, well, then you clearly didn't know what you were doing. Then you're a failure. You suck at this. And now you start to feel really, really bad. So you start to avoid your business. So you're avoiding your business because you don't really like doing your business, because you want to do something else, but you don't want anyone to think you're a failure. So you avoid your business. And now your business does not do as well as it did before because you have lost interest. But instead of thinking that I lost interest and that's why my sales are struggling, you think it's because you're a failure and that's why your sales are struggling. So there's a lot of internal narrative that we tell ourselves about why it is that we want to change, why we want to do something else. And oftentimes it is all rooted in the space where we do not give ourselves permission to make changes in our business because we either associate all change with failure. You don't make a change in your business until you've failed, right? We associate failure with being a bad thing. We don't realize that all successes are built off of the backs of failures. There is literally no success on this planet that is not built off of the back of a failure. There is no one who jumps out and is like, haha, this is perfect the first time I made it. Nope, there's always going to be adaptations, iterations, mistakes, bruises, scratches, scrapes, you name it. That is life. That is business. There is no other way of doing it. So you are putting failure, you're approaching failure from this aspect of that it is a judgment on your value as a human being, that if I failed at this, that means I suck. I am the worst. And that's the area where we really get stuck, right? The failing is like, okay, that's fine. It's what the failure means and says about us that we get all caught up in. For that, I really, really, really want to strongly recommend checking out Psychology Today, finding a therapist if you don't already have one. I have a therapist, I have a psychiatrist, I have a bunch of coaches that helped me work through a lot of these issues as I was working on transitioning and changing over the last several months, as I've really been getting to know myself so much better and changing the direction of my business, right? So we've got these two scenarios, right? The one scenario where you want to change your whole business. I don't even want to do this at all, where you may be in complete denial about it. Like, no, I don't want to. I love my business. I love my business. I cannot tell you how many people have told me they love their business, and I can hear in their voice they don't love their business. The tightness is there, the resentment. If any of you have ever talked to somebody who tells you that they love their ex-husband who they hate, or that someone who treated them terribly, they're like, it's okay. You can feel the tightness and the bitterness coming, right? That's there, right? That is there when they're saying, I love my business. I swear I love my business, right? We've all been there. I've done that too, right? Now, this doesn't apply to everybody, but it definitely applies to some people. For other people, I have had them be really excited about the change, only to be depressed and sad about it when they take it outside of the service space and the experience space and move it into what will people think space. And oh my God, what does this say about me? And more of the value judgment space. Change is difficult when you assume that you are making it because you yourself are somehow a flawed person, right? Now, the reason for this is because we set our expectations very, very high in a lot of spaces, right? This whole idea of why we think this is a value judgment comes from the stories that we were told growing up, which I've talked about extensively in several of our episodes, of the stories about what it means to be successful, what it looks like to be successful. And so we set our expectations based off of those things, right? We set our expectations for what does a successful business look like? What should I be portraying to the world? What people will be thinking of me based off of the same stories that I tell myself, right? So I have to make sure that I'm anticipating those things, right? And it is so important for us to notice that this is all our point of view. It's all our point of view. This is the point of view. There is a lot of effort that we're putting into the story about what other people think of us and our business and what we're doing, and we create a narrative around that. You've written what you think is a success narrative. Now, I don't know the specifics of your success narrative, but I do know the general framework because we all wrote this same narrative, okay? From the same playbook, we've all written the same narrative. And one of those is the big belief systems that if you change your mind, alter course, or adapt in any way, it means that you don't know what you're doing. If you knew what you were doing, then you wouldn't need to adapt. And if you applied yourself and planned it all out, then you would know what you were doing. Okay, you applied yourself. When I was younger, that was the story of my entire life. All my report cards. Minessa would be so much better if she only applied herself. She would do so much better if only she applied herself. Minessa needs to apply herself. That was a big thing, right? Apply yourself. That's what so many of us were told. I was surprised at how many of my friends and community members have had the same thing on their report card. You would be doing so well if you just applied yourself, right? And guess what? I had ADHD. I was applying myself, right? And I think I talked about this in an earlier podcast where imagine that moment where you're like, my God, I am trying really hard. I am applying myself and I'm still not getting there. Then you feel like you have to hide what a failure you are, which means that you now don't trust what success looks like. You're like, I don't know. I don't trust what I think it looks like because you're telling me that if I applied myself, I'd be successful. Well, I am applying myself. So now we have to look outwards and elsewhere for people to tell us when we're doing things right, when we're on track, but it doesn't align with what's inside our hearts. So now we're feeling unhappy. We're feeling like we're constantly torn between two things. We feel like we're not in alignment with the way that we want to live our lives because you're living by somebody else's playbook. And so the change that actually really needs to happen is playing by your own playbook. What is your playbook? What is my playbook? What is it that I want, right? Sorry, I got lost in a second. I had to read that. We're going to edit that out. It occurred to me that the immense feeling of inadequacy that I always faced was because the world said that this is how you have to do things. And I was like, okay. And I believed them. And then I just tried their way and I hated myself and was miserable for years, hence the drinking from earlier, right? Now, let's talk about the solution here, right? Because again, both of these scenarios that we find ourselves in, whether you want to change your business on a big scale and do something totally different, or whether you want to change how you are running your business and different courses and different live schedule and that kind of thing. Either way, a lot of the anxiety that we have comes from a place where we think like we can't change our mind, right? We feel like we cannot change our mind, right? So let's start with the simple solution. Okay, the very simple solution is this. You can change your mind anytime you want to, okay? So just know that you can change your mind anytime you want about anything that you want, right? We talked about that earlier. I think I've peppered it through this podcast a couple of times, but I'm really going to really, you can change your mind about anything at any time in your life. That's it, period. Sometimes these changes in your business, when we talk about your business though, specifically, sometimes these changes are going to be big. Sometimes they're going to be small, right? You don't have to change indiscriminately. It doesn't mean that you jump from business to business every couple of months because that's not really going to help you either. But it does mean that you want to maintain a connection with your inner compass. How do you want to spend your time? What do you like doing? What do you not want to do? One of the things that Miss L, my intimacy coach, taught me is that I didn't really know what I wanted. And she kept asking me that in our sessions. She was like, well, what do you want? And what do you want? And I was getting really frustrated. I was getting annoyed. And I told her, I said, God, you are so annoyingly right now. And she's amazing. She's like, I'm so sorry. I was like, no, it's fine. Because I had no idea how to define what I actually wanted. And I was like, whoa, that's heavy. That is some heavy stuff. When you realize that you have spent so much time looking outward to see what everybody else wants that you realize you just don't even know what you want, right? You don't even know what you actually want, right? So that's the first thing. If you really you need to keep in touch with your inner compass and what feels right to you. Some of those things are going to be big changes. Some of those things are going to be little changes. You may decide that you want to, switch your branding or switch one pink color to a purple color. Or you may say, you know what? I don't want to do small business anymore. I don't want to be an entrepreneur. I want to go back to corporate. You may say, forget this corporate. I am going to become a beekeeper and run my own beekeeping and honey business. All of those things are amazing, right? And they come from really thinking about how you want to live your life on a day-to-day basis. When you think about that, the things that you do in your day-to-day start to become easier to figure out because you're not trying to figure it out based off of what the right way of doing it is. You're not trying to do it based off of what other people are telling you you're supposed to do and you should do. So you feel like you need this blueprint because it's not your playbook. So you have to keep looking at it so that you can make sure you're staying to the course of the way that coach told you to do it. Which is honestly really, really hard. That's a lot of work. In episode 10 of the podcast, we talked about the many, many diverse ways that you can make money in your business. Things that you can do to grow. We talk about that extensively. But it is so important that we talk about one of the key messages in that podcast, which was your business is a thing that you do. It's not who you are, and it's not a lifetime marriage. When you start your business doing or selling any one thing, that is not a lifetime commitment to having to hold and token and pledge for the rest of your life. And now, regardless of whether you're miserable, you have to make this work. That's a choice that you made to have that be a part of your life for a certain period of time. And at any time you can revoke that option or you can change what that looks like, right? What you're doing in your business is a choice. How you make money is a choice in your life. And in that episode, you get to see what all the choices are that are available to you. Because for a lot of us, the reasons why we're afraid of making a lot of these choices is because we're afraid we won't be able to make money. But again, that's just a story that we tell ourselves. We tell ourselves the story that this is how I'm going to make money. But if you sit down and look at the kind of money that you're making in your business, because oftentimes when you are really miserable and unhappy in your business, you're not making the kind of money you want. When you really, really look at it, you find that you're not making as much money as you want to anyway. And you think to yourself, well, if I could only get back on track, I'll be able to make that amount of money that I made back in the day. But the thing that you're forgetting is the thing that you had back in the day was the enthusiasm and the passion and the excitement that right now doesn't appear to be there because either it's shifted somewhere else or you just don't want to do this anymore, or you want to remake how you're doing your business because the way in which you currently have it set up is not in alignment with how you want to live your life. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to leave your business and not do anything at all. Sometimes it just means rearranging it. But the key thing is to first get in tune with what you want, right? And one of the things that I ran into this year was I wrote a marketing plan at the very beginning of this year, like in Jan, Feb, business plan for my business. As I do every year, I just rewrite it to make sure that I'm still on track. And then I went through this enormous metamorphosis where I really focused a lot of time on what I want and how do I want to live my life and how do I want to show up and who do I want to support and whose voices do I want to amplify? And am I really doing the things that fill me with joy? And am I doing the things that fill my audience with joy? And I realized that though my ideas were good, I have so many resources and tools, I didn't necessarily have everything in the place that I wanted it to be in. And all I really needed to do was discard some things, rearrange the other stuff, and change my approach just a little bit and rebrand as Minessa Ink. That's it. There's not a lot of work needed. Like, it's work, but honestly, it's really little work compared to the amount of work that I did in the last 4 or 5 years. And it actually is so easy. It's just flowing. It's just flowing out of me because it's coming from what I truly want and not me trying to measure up to what someone else's idea of success looks like that I've internalized. And I'm trying to make sure that I'm doing it right? This is a very, very important awareness, acknowledgement, and process that I had to go through to recognize that I had just been caught up in the momentum of doing the same thing year over year, without ever stopping to think, have I changed? Let me just look here. I want to see where I have some of these notes. Okay. All right. Okay. So we're going to start to wrap up now. Okay. Whoa. Laura, you're going to need to edit some of this out. This is like, I'm feeling inspired today. That's going to be on the blooper reel. I can guarantee that's going to be on the blooper reel. By the way, if you haven't seen the blooper reel yet, you really have to go check out my Instagram. It is so funny. I seriously, Laura, oh my God, did such a good job. Okay. So, I forgot where I left off on the thing because I kind of just was like in a moment. So I'm going to just come back with the homework now. We're just going to start that. Sorry, I need to shiver it out. Okay. All right. So how do we do this? So as I was going through all this, like obviously I went through a huge metamorphosis in the last 3 months, but to be fair, this is a process. The last 3 months was very, very intense because I was going through something intense. But this whole change thing probably started last September when I was starting to really just feel like I want to move in a different direction, but I couldn't really tell what it was. And then I found an influencer online, a coach online. She is incredible. I cannot recommend enough that you follow her. Her name is Simone. She is simone.grace.seol, and it's going to be in the show notes of this podcast. She's amazing, and she introduced me to this idea of the spirit of my business. She started talking about, and she went through a whole metamorphosis, a whole change. She really shared a lot of the stuff on her Instagram about what she was going through. And it was all just little text things that she was sharing. But she realized that her business had a spirit of its own, and that spirit is a growing and living creature like me. When I was born, I had no tattoos. I had, no hair at the time, right? And over the years, I've changed how I look 1,000 times. I've had an eyebrow piercing and a tongue ring, and I've had long hair and short hair and pink hair. And I've looked many different ways. I've done many different things. I've been a part of many different communities and groups. I have grown. As a person, I have changed. And I say this because I want you to reflect on this in your own life when you look back right now, right? When I'm saying this, 30 years ago, who was I? 30 years ago, I was 10. Who was I when I was 10? I'm not that person anymore. 20 years ago, who was I? I was 24. Nope, I'm not that same person. There are threads of that person in there, but I'm not that same person anymore. 10 years ago, again, not the same person that I was then, but a lot of her, like I started to really form myself then, and I started to really be a little bit more intentional. I was introduced to mindfulness within the last 10 to 15 years. So I started to really begin moving on this journey, but like, it was really not, it was peripheral. And then 5 years ago, even 5 years ago, I am a totally different person from who I was 5 years ago. And I'm going to be so honest. This is the kicker. Okay. When I look back at me 3 months ago, I'm not even the same person I was then. I have grown enormously, and it came from the understanding that I was trying so hard to control my business and force it into whatever I thought it should be. I was wound up so tight in my belief systems and what people had told me was the way I was supposed to be for so long that when they weren't around, I just turned around and told myself. I was so used to being judged or feeling like I was going to be judged or being afraid of the judgment of others and hearing those judgy voices that when those voices disappeared, I turned around and judged myself. I was literally living in a box I created for myself because I was so afraid to simply ask myself who I am now. So what I want to recommend for you as homework is first, trust yourself. Please trust yourself. I know that's not easy. It's not easy at all, but I'm going to invite you to trust yourself. Begin to trust yourself. Trust in what you know is best for you. Trust that you know what's best for your business. And if you need help learning how to do this, I cannot recommend Amy Lee Westervelt. She can be found on amyleewestervelt.com. Her link will also be in the show notes because she really was the person who helped guide me over the last year or so in terms of getting real clarity on what is important to Minessa. What does Minessa want? Which is really what you want, right? What do you want, right? The same thing for yourself. Like, not what I want is what you want, but you need to do that for yourself, right? What does Cindy want? What does Christy want? What does Dawn want, right? What do you want? She helped me very much to figure that out. And what she allowed me to do is figure out how to do it. And then I want to recommend that you join the Social Strategy Squad. If you're not in the Social Strategy Squad already, you can just go ahead and join now. The link is up there. And here's why. Because once you figure out what you want, the next question is figuring out how to make that fit into your life so that you're living your life, right? Because look, we've all got stuff going on in our lives and we have to make sure that what we want is fitting into the framework of our lives. It's all well and good to just live your life however you want, but you have kids, you have responsibilities, you have stuff going on. The problem is that you only know how to fit your life into your work the way you know how to do it. What I want to suggest is hang out with us in the squad and I'll show you other ways of doing it, other ways of implementing what you really want into your day-to-day life so that you don't feel like you have to choose, because you don't have to choose. That is another story that they told us, that you have to choose. You don't have to choose. It's really a matter of really going slowly and understanding what it is that you truly want out of your life and your day and your business, and creating a workflow that works within that, that makes you money. That's really what we're looking for. That is happiness, right? Once you know what you want, once you know what will bring you happiness, and you've curated the workflow that allows you to live that way and make money, bingo, right? That's success. So that's the first thing is trust yourself. Then Amy Lee, okay. And third, follow Simone on Instagram. Now, the last thing that I want to recommend before we wrap up is show up consistently. Okay. Now, when I say show up consistently, I don't mean that you have to know who you are, have it all figured out, or know what you're going to say, but show up somewhere in your life consistently. Don't overwhelm yourself by trying to show up everywhere. I'm at the tail end of that really big change in my life, and I'm showing up where I can and when I can. Sometimes that means simply showing up for me. Like, seriously, sometimes that just means I'm showing up for Minessa. That's it. I can't show up for anybody else but me. That's okay. You're going to have some days like that. And it doesn't, by the way, it doesn't have to be public. You can do all this stuff in the squad, right? So if you want to be like some of the work that you can do in the squad, right? And you can be with a community of people who are doing the same things. Showing up for yourself consistently is the best way I know of to build trust in yourself, because you start to realize that you're going to be there for you, okay? Who I am now as a result of all this work, and what do I really want to do now, and what I'm doing is really... Let me start that again. Let me go back. I just messed it up. Okay. Trusting yourself, right? Trusting yourself, right? Trusting yourself. Okay. Who I am now, what I really want to do now, and what, and how I want to live my life. Is it really in alignment with the way I want to show up? That's the question that I ask myself, right? Am I supporting the people and the causes that I want to support? Am I putting my money where my mouth is? Wait, you know what? I feel like, okay, we're going to cut this out because I think I got all caught up. I think I did this already. Okay, no, you know what? I want to do this again. We're going to do this again because this is like super important. And I think we're going to pull this out as a cut too. Okay. Okay. Here's the thing. Who I am now and what I really want now. And why can't I do this? We're going to start this again. Okay. Hold on. Let's come back. Okay. As you embark on this journey, the way that it starts for me was really asking myself, who am I right now? What do I really want to do now? Is what I'm doing and the way I'm doing in alignment with who I want to be and the way I want to show up? Am I supporting the people and causes I want to support? Am I putting my money where my mouth is? Okay, so those are all the questions that I asked myself, right? So many things came back to this. For me to actually make the changes, for me to do those things, I had to decide that I was worth stopping and investing the effort, time, and care into myself. I had to treat myself the way I treat a baby or a puppy, with love and care and nurturing. And I had to stop and simply listen to my body, my mind, and the spirit of my business. And what I found, like I said earlier, wasn't that scary. Okay. So when you yourself are sitting down and thinking this for yourself, what I want you to know is this: you are worth the time, energy, and effort that it will take for you to get to know yourself and really identify what it is that you want. That is one of the most important lessons that I think I learned, because I didn't realize that prior to the last, say, 3 to 4 months, I did not think I was worth stopping and investing this time in. This is the first time in my life where I literally stopped, said, consequences be damned, because I trust myself. I am going to focus on me and working on me because I trust myself, right? It was terrifying to do initially, but I'm not scared now. I was terrified at the beginning. I have had moments where I was crying like baby sobs and feeling like a broken human being. But now on the other side of it, I feel powerful. I feel aware. I feel in control in a way that I never felt before, because my control now does not come from a desperate need not to lose control. My control now comes from a place of calm understanding of what it is that I want and how it is that I'm going to show up for my community, for my friends, for my family, for the people around me, and how I'm going to have an impact on the world. And when you have that level of calm confidence in what you want, the rest of the world's anxieties and hopes, dreams, expectations, whatever for you, they no longer impact your sphere here. My brilliant intimacy coach, back to her again, Miss L, said at my very first session that sex problems are not sex problems. And she was so right. problems in the bedroom were coming from something deeper inside. And once I was able to work through them, my entire life changed. Not just my sex life, my entire life, my business life included. So now I'm going to borrow from her and say business problems aren't business problems. They're people problems, because you are a person before you are a business. And for many of us, once we take the time to reflect on the underlying root causes of our business issues through mindfulness, self-care, therapy, and other growth practices, the money just rolls in. I commit to you, this is what will happen when you do this. The money will just roll in. The opportunities will be endless, and you will get those warm fuzzies that you wanted when you started your business. Thank you so much for joining me today on this amazingly, fabulously fun episode of Stop Shitting All Over Yourself. I hope you were able to feel empowered. I want to try that again. Thank you so much for joining me on the Stop Shitting All Over Yourself podcast. I do this podcast live every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and I would love to have you join me so that you can participate in the conversation afterwards. I also want to invite you to share this with your friends and family members who may be wanting a change, but are afraid or not sure how to do it. The other thing that I would love to ask of you is if you could leave a review for this podcast on any of the podcast platforms that you listen to the podcast on. It would really help to get the message out so that more and more women, more and more people can start to get the warm fuzzies about their business and feel comfortable with change. Yeah. Okay. Bam. We're done. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to, I just really hope I just realized that, okay. Okay. Thank you, my friend Dee Dee. Okay. Going into the podcast now. I think I'd already done that actually. Oh my God. This, okay. I'm just going to take this screenshot now because it simply must happen at this exact moment. Okay. And then I'm going to give that to Laura so that they can share it because it's amazing. All right, overview, live chat. Okay, I can't actually see. Okay, well, we'll just look at the chats in here. This is a pain. How do I see the chat? All of the chat. I can just see the live chat. Not all of it. Okay, well, I guess we're going to go back to Streamlabs then. Okay. Misfit Moneymaker is adorable. Thank you, Christy. So Misfit Moneymaker is really when I was doing my business plan. That's really what started to come out is I realized that I work with misfit moneymakers. Whether you are a business owner or you work in a job, you think differently from other people. And you're sick of being put in a box. You're tired of feeling like you're inadequate because you're put in a box. You're tired of feeling inadequate because you're not doing things the way other people think it's supposed to be done. We're just misfits. We are misfits in our places of employment and our places of money making. So Lou says, I'm totally referring to you. Absolutely, dude. I feel like we are all in, like, we're tight in this boat here. I'm glad to know that we're here together. And I'm so glad, by the way, that you were able to listen to the podcast. I hope that it helped. I'm going to look to the rest of the comments, but I just want you to know that I'd love to hear, what takeaways you had. Was there anything that you want to try? Anything that you want to talk about? Feel free to jump in. Christy says those comments started showing up in middle school and high school for me. Yep. The ones where you don't apply yourself. If only I think that was about right for me. Because I think I was good in school until they stopped making it about art and creativity and started making it more about like math and tests and memorization and like more like just cookie cutter, regurgitate stuff. Oh my God, this is so amazing. I have to get to my next meeting, but this is amazing. I'm so glad that you were here. I'm sorry that I can't see your name. Why can't I see your name? You must have been in the squad. My school papers always said, please stop doodling. It's like Mad Magazine. They had all those things on the side. I freaking loved those. Those were amazing. Cindy, you're not working to your potential. Yes, I remember that one too. I had forgotten that I wasn't working to my potential. Damn, I was never going to amount to anything. I actually literally thought, by the way, just FYI guys, that I was never going to amount to anything. I thought I was going to be a loser my whole life, that I was going to fail, never make any money. I kind of thought that the best I could hope for was minimum wage job, and I just didn't think I had anything to offer. You know why? Because people kept saying you have so much to offer if only you'd apply yourself. And I'm like, hey, joke's on you, motherfucker. I am applying myself. Like, well, okay. Right? Because they don't realize the damage that does, right? When you're like, stop doodling and you're thinking to yourself, dude, I am called to this. I am enjoying, my mind just goes this way. Why are you not understanding that this is how I this is how I process. When we're told that our basic function, the basic fundamental way in which we process information is wrong, dude, that just sets you up. Like from day one. And that's why it's so important for us to know that we were set up that way, because now that we're adults, we don't have to live that way, right? Because like, look, I've been bitter. I have been bitter. I've been angry. I've been petulant. I've been pissed off. I've been all those things. But the thing is that doesn't do anything for anybody. It just hurts me. I'm ready to be happy. I am ready to be happy. And so for me to be happy, I'm just going to let it go. Let it go. I'm letting it go. I'm letting it go. And I want to, I'm letting it go in that, like, I'm not going to let them make me feel like a failure anymore. I'm not letting it go in the fact that I'm going to keep saying that they said it because I think it's important, right? But I'm letting it go in that I'm not mad. Okay, you guys did the best you could back then. But you know what? I know better now. I know better than you did then as adults. And I'm like, here's the thing. The people who said that were like, they were children too. When you look back, they were like 35 who were taught by their parents who were like 35. And you think to yourself and you're like, well, I guess I just thought that they knew what they were talking about. Okay, I went through the link and it wouldn't let me okay, so you went through the app. Aha, got it. I am so, oh my God, I wish I knew who viewer was. Okay, so I'm going to go into the squad because I'm pretty sure viewer is in the squad. Oh, it's Dee Dee. It's Dee Dee. Okay, it's Dee Dee. Is it Dee Dee? I'm pretty sure it's you, Dee Dee. I'm pretty sure it's you. Oh my God, my allergies. Give me a sec. I'm dying. All right, can't. Okay, no, okay, there you go. Okay, now I can see everything. Dee Dee, you know what's funny? You're the only one I can see now. Literally, you were the only one I can see. So I'm gonna look at your comments that I might have missed. Went through the link, it wouldn't let you chat. Okay, dude, you have grown so much since I met you, Dee Dee. I feel it. I felt the growing pains. You guys all watched my growing pains. It was just as uncomfortable as adolescence was when I was younger, like with all of the awkwardness and everything. Like when cities are built, as Christy says, it's like when cities are built on top of previous ruins. When you look down, you find the foundations that started it all, but the current landscape and view is something different. Exactly. You build upon it, you build upon it, you build upon it. And then, you know, it's one of the things that I think one of my life philosophies that I'm actually really going to start to absorb is I don't ever want anybody to tell me this is just the way it's always been. Why are we doing it this way? Because this is the way it is. I'm not okay with that. That's actually that's like a thing I'm just not okay with anymore. It's fine if that's still the best way of doing it. Like totally fine. But you have to show me how, right? So like, I'm no longer going to just accept that because we've done it this way makes it the right way of doing it, makes it the best way of doing it, unless I can actually see that, right? Because that's what I found is that a lot of people just say this is the way to do it and just expect, they say it with a lot of confidence, so we believe it. Oh yeah, right? You'd be so much more successful if you only applied yourself. Well, she said it with a lot of confidence, so I believed her, right? If all it takes to actually believe someone is just them sounding confident, then sound confident when you say things to yourself. You'll convince yourself. You're like, okay. All right, let's see what's happening. Okay. All right. I need to trust myself more. Dude, trusting yourself is really hard. For me, it really started with little things. Like just, first I'm in therapy, of course. But it also started with like, for example, the littlest thing that it started with was, and I've told this story before, was the Nintendo Switch. I'd gotten to such a point in my lowness that I just felt incapable of literally doing anything. So I was playing Mario 3 one day and it stalled and it was the Switch and I just gave up. I can't play anymore. And I remember that feeling. I can't play. I remember how I felt. I felt so defeated. So like I felt like such a victim I was a victim of Switch. I was in a very bad place. And I'm not laughing at myself. I'm laughing because I'm just laughing. Because you know what? Sometimes things are just so bad you have to laugh. And so I just I'm laughing, right? But at the moment I wasn't laughing. In that moment I was crying. I was like, I can't. I was like, Alex, I need you to fix the Switch. And I remember the feeling of heat when you're about to cry and frustration and annoyance and incapacitation, and all it was just the Switch. That's it. I just wanted to play Nintendo, and that was it. That was the moment where I was like, I give up. I'm not doing anything ever again, right? And I was like, oh my God, Minessa, what the fuck has happened to you? You can do this. You can do this. Get up, just pick the Switch up and drop it back in the cradle. That's all you have to do. Go do it. And I coached myself through the whole damn thing. Okay, go pick it up, drop it. and I dropped it. And guess what happened? The Switch restarted and I played Mario and it was fine. And that helped to build trust because I was like, okay, I trusted that I could do it. I did it. And now I feel good. It doesn't have to be something really big. Okay. So just keep this in mind. The actions that you take to learn how to trust yourself often are not huge ones. We often think that they're huge ones. I need to learn how to trust myself. It's got to be this big monumental thing. It really doesn't. Like little things like that. If you feel like, oh, I can't do that, right? Sit with that for a minute, right? And ask yourself, okay, and ask yourself, can I do that? What, if I could do that, how would I do it? That opens up curiosity. Okay. Then try that thing. That's it. If it works, you are going to trust yourself enormously. If it doesn't work, you're going to trust yourself enormously because you'll realize that you tried something, you didn't die, and now you have an idea of what maybe to try next, right? Always try to create the spirit of curiosity in your mind. If I want, okay, I can't do this. I absolutely can't. I am incapable of fixing the Switch. But, let's say if I was, what would I do, right? Exactly. Okay. And no, you do not have to choose. So that's the one thing that I want to leave. My battery's about to die and we've already gone over a little bit because I was so I just loved this conversation. Is that you do not have to choose between having a healthy, happy life where you get exactly what you want right now and having a happy, healthy life to where you have exactly what you want in the future and make money throughout that. You don't have to choose. The story that you have to choose is a lie that was told by, I don't know who. Now we just tell it to ourselves. Okay. So now you're telling it to yourself and you're perpetuating the lie. You don't have to choose. What's more important than choosing is getting real clarity on what you want. Real clarity on what you want. That's where everything starts. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. If you are not already a member of the Social Strategy Squad, dude, come join us. We do things like this all the time. We have office hours every week where we just sit down and anyone can bring questions about their business or their lives. And we just kind of talk. Yesterday, we had a business therapist question. The other day, we had and we also had a Facebook question. So we have all different things. I want to let you know we have a couple of really, really great podcasts coming up that I think you're going to want to be here for. So we have coming up in the next couple of weeks or month or so. We have, so these are the ones that we have coming up. We have how to feel happier. Actually, what we're going to talk about is, how you're always like, one day I want to get back to being, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to learn this. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to get back to the way that I was at some point. I'm going to get back to the way that I was. We're going to talk about how to workshop that so you don't feel so much pressure on that one. And maybe free you from that expectation. We're also going to talk about life being the stories that we tell ourselves. That's another great episode that's coming. And then I want to plant this seed for you now. Please tell your friends, your family, your community members. I want to have this be the highest, most attended live that I've ever done. It's going to be sometime in the next few months. And here's what it's going to be about specifically. Okay. It is very specific. It's going to be called Charge What You're Worth. Charge What You're Worth. And it's going to be a special training podcast version. And it is going to be for business owners or employees of companies, because one of the things that I have discovered it's really making me feel both angry. It's making me feel like we have to do something. It's making me feel sad. It's making me feel a lot of things, is that I know coaches who are charging a fraction of what they are worth. They are barely charging enough to pay the bills, and their value that they offer is the transformation they offer is life-changing to the point where your whole world will change. I know people who are working for half the amount that other people are working for doing the same job. I know people who are subject matter experts who are getting paid as administrative assistants. I know people with PhDs who are not getting paid anything because they do not know how to charge their worth. I have business owners who are charging so much less than they should because they're so afraid of people not wanting to buy from them that they discount themselves to death. I have clients who are giving away the farm and finding that they have no profit margins at the end of the month. And here is the thing. You are all, whether you are an employee or a business owner, you are all extremely skilled and talented people. I know this because you're on my podcast. And the fact that you are here listening to my podcast tells me that you think about the world in a different way, which means you are visionary, you are creative, you are energetic, you have a lot to offer the world, but you don't see your value, you don't know your value, or you don't know how to ask for your value or demand your value, and you don't know the arguments to use or the things that actually make you worth that value, so you don't know how to have these conversations. And it is frustrating to me because so many people that I work with would have exactly the life that they want if they would simply charge more than what they are actually charging. So we are going to do a very, very special event. I'll let you know when it's coming. I'm writing it right now. I'm putting it together, and I want to give it time to market. So I want to make sure that if you have friends who are like, oh my God, I'm not getting paid enough, I'm not doing this, tell them all to follow me. Follow me, keep following me. And over the next couple of months, this training is going to come out. It is not going to be a paid training. This is going to be a free training. I want, and I know that's ironic saying that as somebody who's saying make money, but I want everybody to make money, money, money. Then it will become a paid training later. But first, I want it to be a free training out here for everybody to see so that everybody can make money, because that is critically important. I want us all to be filthy fucking rich and happy as fuck. Okay. That's what I want. So stay tuned for that, because that honestly is the thing that I am most excited about. Alrighty. Okay. Yeah. Gregory. No, Gregory, I'm not entirely sure what your question is going to be, but I have a feeling with your last name, it's probably not going to. Okay. All right. If you have a question to ask that is not trolly, you can. But I will answer it later because I'm going now. So have a wonderful, wonderful day, everybody. I'm going to see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, and then stop shitting all over yourself. Bye-bye.